What is up, everybody, and welcome back on another episode of Why Did I Buy a Mini Truck? So, from that first little teaser, you can see that I did end up buying another mini truck. Now, that doesn't mean we're done with this. It's actually quite the opposite. So, I bought that other mini truck specifically to take the freshly rebuilt KA and the transmission and the wiring harness and the dash and the cluster and the door cards and pretty much everything I was missing on here, or anything that I was considering already replacing. I even kind of like the wheels that are on it. So, that means that this engine is going to get pulled. Now, that doesn't mean that this is the end for this engine, because I think we might end up pulling this out. Obviously, we're going to, because we're going to put the KA in it. But if we decide to keep this, what we might do is we might go carbureted, and we might just slap it in the other one and build like a little drift missile for cheap. So we'll see. But a little mini update here. You can see I got some airlines going on. Well, that is because we have the tank now. It is ratchet strapped in place. It's temporary, I promise. I have two things that are going to happen. I'm either going to get straps or make straps that are going to hold it, or I'm going to just go ahead and get a new tank. I've been looking at one that's the same size as this, but just a couple less ports. So I might do that. Anyway, so for mock-up purposes, this is how the Vivair 444Cs are going to mount. Like I said before, we're going to come back through, we're going to weld up around the bracket, but I've got this tank in place. Now I am waiting for the adapters to come to go from 3/8 to 1/4. So those will sit, but this is pretty much what it's going to look like. We got everything hooked up in here just so we can test the system, double check for any leaks, whatever. So come over here, get an Air Max water separator. Again, the mount is temporary. They do run right through here, going through my firewall. They are protected, which is very important that your air lines are protected from chafing. And now they're all running inside of here. So the very last one that we have to do is this side. And so we're going to route today, we're going to run this bag back into the cab. And then we're going to secure all of these lines up against the back of the firewall. And then they're going to come forward. We're going to go ahead and put our center console, like our controller, the Jack's 4-play. We're going to put it right in here as far forward as we can, just so we have a little extra when that Roadie Fab center console comes in. We will then set it in place, because obviously how those position now. I was a little upset yesterday, so let's see. I went over this, all the lines are ran, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So yesterday, I got all of this stuff hooked up on the 4-play. So it's nice, got it lubricated, about 15 drops of tool oil. I just happen to have some laying around. These are all plumbed up, so our ins, our outs, our ports. But you see the top here for the gauges. Unfortunately, the sensors for the gauges I have are too big to fit in here. So they would hit these portions of the other fittings. So what I did was I ordered 45 degree male to female 1/8 inch MBT. So they're going to kind of come out at a little bit of an angle like this. And then these will hook up, but that'll be fine, because when we go to actually set this in to the center console, when we cut it, we can rock it like this, put it back, bolt it up, hook the lines up. So that's what we're going to do. So for testing purposes, these are currently blocked off because this weekend we're going to be airing up the truck. for the very first time since we've started tearing it apart just a mere month ago. So definitely excited about that. So stay tuned. I will be doing a video on the other mini truck that we got. Nothing crazy. It's got a KA24E in it. Manual transmission. The dash, pristine in it. So that is definitely going in here. Now it is blue, but we will either be dyeing it or covering it in just another fabric. But the basis is exactly what we want. So I think that's really it. Today we're going to run, like I said, the driver's side front line, inside, hook up the jacks foreplay, and probably, so I've been, this might be a slightly longer video than I've been posting normally, but whatever. So this is all like the old stuff, right? If we take it out the battery box lid, which is exactly what this is, I was considering, what did I do with that? Oh, here it is. So this is the lid, right? Let's see, we'll come up here. I was considering mounting the auxiliary fuse panel to the lid. Now this is going to be for like the air compressors and the door poppers. So one fuse for each door popper, one fuse for each of the air compressor relays, like the circuit for that. We can have other things on here though, like I'm going to have the gauges for the air suspension on here, 10 amp fuse, one for each pair, because each gauge shows 2 psi, so I've got 2 gauges in total, so it'll be 2 fuse sections. But I was thinking something like this, kind of out of the way, just right on top. I mean, running the power and the ground right into the battery. I think that would be cool, and then giving it enough room that when we go to lift the lid off, we can just go ahead and unscrew the little lock nut. It's like a ribbon style. Oh gosh, where is it? Like a wing nut. Anyway, that's pretty much what I'm thinking as far as that goes. So another thing that's going to be super cool is that when we pull all this out of here, engine, transmission, everything, we're just going to gut this whole thing, right? I think what I'm going to do is not only am I going to use that time to paint the engine bay, but I think we're going to do new tubs in the front. Like this one, pretty solid. Like I could probably stand on that. I mean, this one, not so much. I mean, it's not like super bad, but it's not like the best, right? So here's my thought. Engine's already out. Cool. Freshen up the steering. Use that time with the engine out also to go ahead and do the Roadie Fab upper control arm box kit, and do the link for the lower so that we can go ahead and run a shock. So if you kind of look down in there, you can see this little L-shaped bracket just past the brake line there. Now that's really sideways. It looks like there was a shock on it at one point and it broke off. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the lower kit. We're going to box and flip the uppers for the control arms at the same time. Be super easy with nothing up here. Originally I was considering just doing a lopping the front end off and just doing a tube front end, which isn't necessarily out of the question. but it might be a little bit more work than I'm really thinking about doing on it. So either way, like even though this is solid, right, and this is cut out nice, we use this kind of as a template. We're also going to take the time when we're in here to bend all brand new lines for the brakes and the clutch. Since we won't be needing some of these anymore, we're just going to clean it up really well. We're going to go with a Z32 booster, so that'd be nice. And we're just going to put a new, I might go with a Willwood for the master for the clutch, and maybe even for the brakes as well, unless we can just get a full Z32 booster and master cylinder combo. Either way, these are going to come out because we're going to cut the notch just slightly higher. So you can see right here, it's not bad, but if I wanted to tuck like 20s, 22s, I wouldn't be able to. So we're going to cut it probably right about here. I'm thinking actually just like almost to where this bend is, almost where this kind of like 90s up, almost that point. And then we're going to weld in some new inner fenders. I really would like to do like tabs, maybe even with some weld nuts so I can bolt them in and out so they're just not permanent. So if I need some extra room, I can just take them out and get in there. But that's another thing. That's for a future video for sure. Another thing that's really cool about picking up that other truck is the windshield is good in that truck, and this one is cracked. So, I mean, I've got a windshield as well that I can pull. But I'll just really see what the difference is between getting like Safe Light to come put one in versus just pulling this windshield myself and then having them pull and install another windshield. So we'll see kind of what they say about that. If I do decide to keep the other truck and make a little drift missile, then we'll just get a new windshield for this truck. Now, on top of getting some new headlights ordered for this truck, because we do have some nice new LED headlights coming, that other truck has the original bumper markers. So I'm going to definitely take those. And then the side markers are good. It actually turns out that it has a set of taillights on it that was an LED set I was going to order anyway. So that's kind of nice. So that's going to go on this truck. I got really lucky with the interior in this project truck, this donor vehicle we got, because it looks really, really clean. We are going to be putting brand new carpet in here. We're going to sound deaden this. I think during the time when this motor is out and we're prepping and painting the engine bay, and after we do all the welding in here and for the tubs, and I want to run a different radiator, so we might do like different radiator support mounting tabs. That'd be kind of cool. Just to kind of clean some stuff up. I'd like to make some room for in the future if we do decide to boost this, but realistically we probably won't. We'll probably keep it NA. If anything, we'll just put a 240SX intake manifold on it and call it good. Like I was saying though, when we're inside the engine bay and we're doing all that work, we're also going to be coming in here and doing a bunch of sound deadening. Once the sound deadening's done, we're actually going to spray the inside. So it's going to be really nice to have all of this out. Like I'm going to pull the rest of the HVAC out. Pretty much everything down to the column. And then that little support, because we can just go ahead and mask that off. But it'll be really nice to just change the interior color. We'll get rid of all this trim. The trim around the doors. This trim around the window will be off. We can really just get a nice spray in here when we take these door cards off. So now these door cards are different from the ones that we got. So the donor is a 95 and this is a 90. This is an 89. So ours have like this plastic here. The other one is just like a metal top and it cuts off. It's like a 3/4 or an 80% card basically. So that's one thing we can't take. I will kind of do some basic measurements and just see, maybe test fit one of the doors just to have an extra set of doors. because even if we build that thing as a drift missile, we're not going to have doors on it. We're just going to have door bars. So, that's cool. But we'll be taking out the rest of this interior next weekend, and then we will be pulling any of this extra sound deadening that's left inside of here. Kind of go through, maybe use some like sandpaper and maybe some dry ice just to really clean everything else out of here, and then get it ready for the new sound deadener. So what I did was I bought DEI's sprayable sound deadening mat. We're going to see how it does on the doors. If it does well on the doors, I'll use it inside, but if not, we just have some Dynamat that we'll put in here, which should be just as good. So back here, as far as the rest of this goes, like I said, we're going to scoop up another tank, or we will get some way to mount this tank. It won't just be with a ratchet strap, it is just temporary to make sure everything works. We need to wire in the compressors. I'm waiting on some 8-gauge wire to show up, since we're going to be right around 15 feet of wire between it and the battery. We're going to run a 40 amp fuse for the main power, but then that's also going to run into a 40 amp relay, and then we're going to have a switch. So the way it's going to work is it's going to run, from the relays. The switched side is going to come from this pressure switch right here. So that pressure switch is going to basically interrupt the signal for the physical switch that'll be in here, because what I would like is some way to disconnect it in case that pressure switch ever fails. And it doesn't shut off, we can shut it off manually. Or if it just doesn't turn on, we can just hook those connections up together and flick it on from here. So we still have some way to control it, but that's pretty much how we're going to get that set up. And it'll be nice because with the battery back here, I need to go get some just ABS plastic so I can build a little plate for back there so we can go ahead and hook that fuse panel up. I do like the idea of putting it on top of the battery though too, so we'll kind of see what's up with that as we get a little further along. So I guess to kind of close this video out, our goal this weekend is just to get the air suspension wired up. It's all plumbed already. I'm just waiting on the wire for the compressors. We get this kind of hooked up, even if it's just like on to air the truck up and off. Like, we're not going to run the switch up because there's nowhere in the dash yet. So it'll probably just be on all the time, and then we'll just disconnect it from the battery to turn it off. But I want to make sure that there are no issues as far as the air suspension goes. We do have all brand new fittings. All the lines are new. I mean, the bags are new. Everything has been replaced. So when that happens, there's a lot of connections that could leak. So, I mean, if you think about it, we have 2 connections, one at the air compressor side, one at the tank side. So that's 4 already on the tank. Any of those other ports could leak. Any of the plugs could leak. The line that runs from here to there could have a leak. From here into the cab, a leak from the bag. You get it. A lot of points. So ideally what I'd like to do is just make sure that this thing will air up, stay aired up. Even if there's some slow leaks, we can hash them out later. But being able to move this around is going to be crucial here soon, because once we get it aired up, we're going to roll it out of here. It's going to go in the other garage, and we're going to pull in the new mini truck, the standard cab, and we're going to do a video on that. And then we're just going to start going right into it. I mean, like 4 weeks, we're going to have everything out of that truck that we want to put into this truck. And then we're essentially going to leave it in here, swap spaces, pull the motor out of this and the transmission, put the other one in here because it'll already be in here. I got to do some organizing to kind of free up a little bit more space. But basically, once we gut out that black truck, everything will be in here that we need for this King cab. And then we're just going to pull it in over winter, do the swap, get everything set up, put the interior in. I mean, I'm hoping by like the last week of winter, like where it's still kind of snowing a little bit, but it's kind of getting a little bit warmer. I'm hoping by the last week of winter to have this thing done. And I mean like donezo, like paint, all the jazz, mounting the shocks, like I mean all the work that we got to do, because the winter we can really knuckle down on this thing and like get it finished. But for now, I think we've made a lot of progress in just the last month or so. So I'm definitely excited to see where this goes. Thank you for everybody for watching. I appreciate it, and stay tuned for the complete look over of the black truck. That'll be coming hopefully sometime this week. So if you guys are interested in that, feel free to subscribe. I'm just happy people are getting enjoyment out of watching me do this. So yeah, thanks for that.